Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from the Breeders Cup at Keeneland Racecourse on Saturday. It's the 7th of November 2020. We're going to look at all the Breeders' Cup races on Saturday's program from Keeneland, but before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kit 5 for more selections for racecourses around the world. And it's going to be no Breeders' Cup like we've ever seen before, with basically no fans in the stands and it being 2020 with everything being up in the air. But we're all at home and we're all gonna enjoy the cards because I think you can make some money with all these races. So we have quite a few races 4 through 12 to look at. Let's get to it right now. Starting off with the fourth race from Keeneland, the Mare Sprint. Race 4 from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $1,000,000. Races for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 9 horses heading to the main dirt track, the distance of ground of 1,400 meters, or the distance of ground of 7 furlongs on the Keeneland dirt track. 1,400 meters, 7 furlongs, and I show the diagram. It just gives me a second to look down my notes, just bear with me. We're going to go to the rail to the one horses in top selection, the one horse speech. We'll go 1926 in the superfecta. 1926 super, top selection, one horse speech. 3-year-old filly by Mr. Speaker. Michael McCarthy trains. Javier Castellano gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 4th of September at Churchill, a mile and eighth in the Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks. I don't know if the horse liked the trip. 2 turns. I don't think it was a recipe for success. She finished 4th by 8 3/4 lengths. She didn't break so well, and she never really got comfortable. It was a very tough race. Coming down in class, cutting back in trip, I think this horse is in a more realistic spot to win. 2 back here at Keeneland on the 11th of July, mile 16th of the Grade 1 Ashland. She won by 3 lengths. Wasn't the world's toughest Ashland, but she had everything her own way from a starting position. A little bit wide, but she got the job done going away, earning her best race lifetime on this track, which I really like. A 101 buyer. Nothing bad about that run. And then prior to that, in the Santa Anita Oaks at Santa Anita Park, mile 16th, 6th of June, the horse finished second by 4 lengths behind Swiss Skydiver, who I think personally, if she wins the Distaff later today, Swiss Skydiver will probably be, I think, should be your horse of the year, but that might be up for debate with some people with Tis the Law. But, this horse just kind of stuck, but she got outclassed by a classier horse there, who she just wasn't going to catch. Also, 2 turns, I just don't think she likes. And then prior to that at Oakland, 2nd of May, mile 16th, Nopsal Heinrich finished second by a neck, but after the race, Gamine was disqualified because of a drug test, so she was placed first due to the disqualification. But like I said, 2 turns, I think she was just laboring a little bit late, just couldn't keep up. And before then, the Santa Ysabel at Santa Anita, mile 16th, 8th of March, the horse finished second by 4.5 lengths, and she just kind of was with them early on, but Donna Veloce just outgamed this horse late, cutting back in trip, trading very well, 6-1, a very likely winner, and a horse to blow up your exotic and your multi-race wagers. The 9-horse Bells to 1, this 4-year filly by Majestic Perfection, I think she has a live chance. Corey Lannery gets the mount. Most recently in the Derby City Distaff at Churchill, 7 furlongs, September the 5th. The horse won by nose, and she absolutely loves Churchill that day. She stalked a quick pace that day. She had a great turn of foot, and she got the job done. If there's going to be a closer winning, I think it could be her. Her races here at Keeneland haven't been half bad either. She's 4-2 on the surface. She won the Raven Run very impressively last autumn, and she ran a decent third in the Madison this summer here at Keeneland. One of her worst races lifetime on this track came out at a 2-turn mile 16th in the Ashland in 2019, but she's not a 2-turn horse like Speech. She's a 1-turn 7 furlong horse. She doesn't need the lead, and if there's going to be a horse come from behind today, I think in this race at 6-1, she's a very live horse. Also, she's been training very, very well most recently. If you go through her workout patterns before the last race and this one, I think she's come to this race a lot better than the Churchill race at 6-1. Definitely use them around your multis and in your play spots if you're overseas. But to recap my selection now for the 4th from Keeneland, it is the Grade 1 $1,000,000 Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. As a top selection, we'll take the 1-horse Speech. We'll also give kudos to the 9-horse Bells to 1. We'll go 1926 in the superfecta, 1-9 in the multi-race, to race number 5 now from Keeneland. Race number 5 from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $1,000,000, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have an overflow field of 18 horses entered, but only 14 could go to the turf course. The distance of ground here of 1,100 meters, or the distance of ground of 5.5 furlongs on the Keeneland turf course. 1,100 meters, 5.5 furlongs, turf course, portable rails are at 0 feet. The turf course, they had a lot of rain towards the end of October. The turf course is rated good deferment spots if you want to go overseas. So they're drying out, not as dry as they usually would be, but they're good. As my top selection here, we're gonna go with the 4-horse Front Run the Fed. We'll go 4873 in the superfecta, 4873 super. Top selection of 4-horse Front Run the Fed. This 4-year-old colt by Fed Biz. Chad Brown trains. Javier Castellano gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came in the Belmont Turf Sprint at, the Kentucky Downs Turf Sprint at Kentucky Downs, 6 furlongs, September the 12th, and the horse finished second by a neck. Kentucky Downs is a very quirky kind of course. You're going up hills, down hills, turns, and it's just not your standard North America turf course. But this horse got over it well. He sat back early, had a great turn of foot. He just missed late. I didn't think that was a half bad run. Coming back to a more standard turf course, drawn very well, which you need to be in these turf sprints at Keeneland. I think this horse is very loaded here today. 2 back at Belmont on the 5th of July, 7 furlongs in the Widener Turf Course, an optional 80 claimer. Second time facing older horses in quite a while. The horse won by 1 3/4 lengths, and he sat back early, got the lead, and then he got the job done. That was a very impressive victory with a lot left in the tank, I thought, that day. And then prior to that, on the 21st of May at Churchill, 1 mile and optional 80, the horse finished 4th by 3 lengths. That race could have been a grade 3. At the end of May at Churchill, when racing started to resume here on the East Coast, Midwest, those Churchill races were showing up. The first and 2 weeks of that meeting were showing up very, very strong, and some of them could have been grade 2, grade 3s. That race could have been a grade 3. 2 turns, I don't think he liked. He really just never got into it, hit the wall late, but he ran his heart out against some very tough horses there. And then prior to that, he ran on the 26th of October at Belmont on a good turf course, 1 mile in the English Channel. The horse finished second by half length. Was with him early on, a little bit wide, and he just couldn't keep up late. Seismic Wave just ran that better race. And then in last year's Better Talk Now at Saratoga, 1 mile on the inner turf course, the horse won by a half length. He had a very quick pace to run with from the back of the pack, and he got the job done. But he runs his better numbers sprinting. He doesn't need the lead. He could stalk. If he breaks well, I think at 12-1, he's very loaded. Along with the number 8 horse here, Alessandra, this 6-year-old mare by Animal Kingdom. Neil Drysdale trains. Joel Rosario gets the mount. Most recent outing in the Jaipur here in New York at Belmont, 6 furlongs, June the 20th. The horse won by a neck and sat back early. Very quick race that day to run with from the back of the pack, and she got there in the nick of time. That was a very good race after all said and done, after not the best beginnings also. Before then, the Monrovia at Santa Anita, 5.5 furlongs, 25th of May. Off the bench, the horse finished second by a half length, and she didn't break that well, but she really closed up well late. She showed heart there, and guess what? She's a course and distance winner, winning here in the Buffalo Frank County last season, going 5.5, winning by 2 lengths again from the back of the pack. She really ran a good race. I hope she breaks a little better than she has been in her recent form cycles. Most recently hasn't been breaking that well, but if she breaks well here today, I think that puts her up a lot. At 12-1, definitely use her in your multi-races. Also gets a little bit of a weight break, only carrying 123 pounds opposed to the standard 126 pounds here, because she is the mare facing the boys. But 12-1, I think she's very loaded. The 7-horse Leinster, this 5-year-old horse by Majestic Warrior, won the Woodford, the local preppers for this race a few weeks ago, very nicely. And then before that, won the Shakertown over the summer very nicely also. So likes this turf course. Ran this race last year at Santa Anita, where this horse had a very troubled trip, but drawn a little bit better here today. Back to the home turf course where this horse likes running. At 4-1, you also have to give him a shot. And while we're here talking about him, the 3-horse Imprimis, at Saratoga, I backed the horse where it got disqualified. What can you do? Did I think the horse had to be disqualified? No, I thought it was a lot better margin of victory where they didn't have to disqualify it, but still ran well there off the bench, and then won the turf sprint at Kentucky Downs very impressively on a soft turf course, which I don't think this horse really likes. On drier turf course today, drawn very well. I think Imprimis at 3-1 or 4-1, definitely use them in your multis. This is a very wide open turf sprint. It always is. So in the multi races, I think you want to go a little heavy. But to recap my selection for the 5th from Keeneland, it is the $1 million Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint as a top selection. We'll take the 4-horse Front Run the Fed. We'll also give kudos to the 8-horse Alessandra, the 7-horse Leinster, and the 3-horse Imprimis. We'll go 4-8-7-3 in the superfecta, 4-8-7-3 in your multi-race and your place pots. It's race number 6 now. The 6th race from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $1 million, races for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 13 horses entered, but keep in mind, only 12 could go. The distance of ground of 1,600 meters, or the mile trip here in the Dirt Mile. 1,600 meters, 1 mile. And my top selection, keep in mind, the race begins at the standard finish line, but finishes at the 16th pole finish line. So it's going to be a little bit of a short stretch. You need to be drawn well, and I think you need to have some speed to win this race. With that being said, I'm going to take the 9-horse Mr. Freeze. We'll go 9-10-1-5 in the superfecta. 9-10-1-5 super. Top selection 9-horse Mr. Freeze. 5-year-old horse by Donner and Serve. Dale Romans trains. Manny Franco gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the Fayette here at Keeneland, mile 8th, October the 10th, and the horse won by a neck. And from a wide post draw, he didn't get over as cleanly as I would like him to, but he stalked, he got the lead, and he held on to a victory. A mile and 8th at the distance might be just pushing it a little bit too long for him. Cutting back an 1/8 of a mile here in the mile, I think the horse should really get a better trip, and I think he'll really run well. 2 back in the alley sheep at Churchill, mile 16, September the 4th. He finished 6 by 4.5 lengths there, and he didn't break that well, and he was just, he just never quickened up late. Just couldn't keep up with those slightly better horses. And then the Metropolitan Handicap at Belmont, 1 mile, July the 4th. The horse finished 6 by 4.5 lengths, didn't break that well, and the Met Mile this year was very loaded, like it has been the last few years, and he was just never really doing well there. But coming here, 2-turn mile, which I think is better for him than a 1-turn mile from the wide post rail, it's going to make him have to go towards the front end, because he's going to have to break for a better position. I think he could, I think the post rail is to his benefit, and if they use that early speed, I think he could go a long way. Some of his races over the winter weren't bad at all. He won the Gulfstream Park Mile at Gulfstream in late February, winning by 3 lengths, earning 107 Bayer. That was a very good race. Prior to that, he had a very good place in the Pegasus World Cup, and then, he had a decent third in the Clark, where the distance, I think, just got to him late, and then he had a decent second in last year's Fayette, but going to a mile trip here today, drawn very well. At 6-1, I think he's loaded. The 10-horse Complexity, I think a 1-turn race is going to be a little bit better for him, but another horse going towards the front end from the wide post, where he's going to have to, he's going to have to break well and go towards the front end. They're going to try and see how long his speed will last on the front end, but his Kelso was very nicely run. I thought his Forgo was very nicely run also. At 2-1, we'll give him a shot also, but I'm not as confident as I would be with considered to Mr. Freeze, who I really like a lot. And I also think your Wise Guy horse, who I'm going to use in the multi-race, the 1-horse Art Collector, he ran quite crap in the Preakness a few weeks ago, but that was because he kind of missed some training with missing the Derby. Very small pattern of training he missed, but if you take out the Preakness, he was run very well this year. Won the Ellis Park Derby against lesser quality horses, won the Bluegrass very nicely on this track, and then his 2 races at Churchill before that were very nicely run. At 6-1, he's your Wise Guy horse. He's either going to run a massive race or he's going to finish way out of it. If like I said, those 3 races this year before the Preakness, or 4 races, those buyers could win here today. But to recap my selection for the 6 from Keeneland, it is the Grade 1 $1 million Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. We're going to take the 9-horse Mr. Freeze. We'll also give kudos to the 10-horse Complexity and the 1-horse Art Collector. We'll go 9-10-1-5 in the superfecta, 9-10-1 in the multi-race. Let's get to the 7th race from Keeneland. The 7th race from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $2 million. Races for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 14 horses going the distance of ground of 1,900 meters, or the distance of ground of 1 mile and 3/16 on the Keeneland Turf Course. 1,900 meters, 1 mile 3/16 here in the Filly Mare Turf. And this is a very good race, like all of them, but in particularly, this one's a good one. I'm going to take the 3-horse Peaceful as the top selection. We'll go 3-7-10-2 in the superfecta, 3-7-10-2 super. Top selection of 3-horse Peaceful. 3-year-old filly by Galileo. Aidan O'Brien trains. Ryan Moore gets them out. Aidan O'Brien has never won this race. His son won it last year with Iridessa, but this year, he's still 0 for like 50 in this race, and he's like 0 for like 100 since his last win here in the States, which was Deauville in the 2017-18 Belmont Derby, something like that, or some kind of horse, which was here in New York. That was his last win in 2018 or 2017 for O'Brien. But I think this horse could get him the first victory in quite a while in the States, and first Filly Mare Turf victory. Most recent outing came on the 3rd of October at Newmarket on the Roadley Mile. Very wet ground, 1 mile in the Group 1 Sun Chariot Stakes, and the horse finished 12th by 27 lengths and was just never handling the course. The going. Wheels were spinning, hit the wall late. It wasn't the day to win. going to a mile 3/16 on a lot drier turf course, sitting closer. I think this horse could really get a good trip and win. Two back at Leopardstown on the 12th of September, good ground 1 mile in the Group 1 Matron Stakes, and the horse finished second by 1/4 lengths, and she stalked. She had the lead. She got caught by Champs-Élysées late, but she ran her heart out there, and then off the break there, and then before then, the Group 1 Prix de Diana Shanti, a mile 5/16. She finished third by neck. It was an all-out finish. She really just ran well there, great there. Nothing bad about that run. And then before then, the Group 1000 Guineas at the Curragh, 1 mile, June the 13th. The horse won by 2. She stalked. She got the lead, and she had a lot left in the tank. That was a very, very good run. She doesn't run well first off the break, but second off, she does a lot better. She's going to get that dry turf course here today, back to the mile 3/16, nearly a mile and a quarter. At 12-1, I think she's very loaded, and I think this gives O'Brien his best chance for a Breeders' Cup victory this weekend. Along with the number 7 horse here, Terabellum, this 4-year-old filly by See the Stars. John Gosden trains this one. Frankie Dettori gets the mount. You know, this is another horse dying out for a longer trip, also dying out for drier ground. Most recently in the Sun Chariot, the horse finished 5th by 3.5 lengths and never really got a good trip from the back of the pack. And she doesn't do her best running from there. She does her better running from sitting closer. Hopefully Frankie will take her close to the front end. Just looking over the running lines, when Frankie rides the horse, she runs a lot better. James Doyle rode her last week or a few weeks ago, and I just don't think those two agreed. But before then, the Foulmouth at Newmarket in July, very soft ground. The horse finished third by half length. She was with them early on. She hit the wall going up the very tough final furlong on the July course at Newmarket. You know, it just wasn't her day on the soft ground. But before then, the Queen Anne, she ran a very massive place behind Circus Maximus. She was with him. She was under the drive. She hit the wall late, but she ran her heart out there. And then before then, the Dahlia at Newmarket on firm ground, a mile and a quarter, 6th of June, winning by 1/4 lengths, 90 cents a dollar. She stalked. She got the lead. Very easy run. Coming here back to drier ground, back to the nearly mile and a quarter at 20-1. I think she could blow it up here. And I also think the 10 horse here, Civil Union, for Shug McGahee and Joel Rosario. Most recently in the Flower Bowl here in New York at Belmont, going a mile and a quarter, the horse went very nicely. Before then, the Glen Falls around 3 turns at Saratoga, the horse went nicely, and then won the River Memories before that very nicely. She's been getting better with every single race. Coming to prime time here today at 12-1. Definitely could blow up your multi-race wagers. And don't throw out the 2 horse sister Charlie. She won this race a few years ago at Churchill very impressively, but she hasn't been the same horse since losing this race last year. But come back here where she'll see a very quick pace, which she really likes to close up with. At 6-1, I think she's very loaded, and I think the old lady still has something left in the tank. 6-1, definitely use her in your pick 6 that begins with this race. Like I said, this race is going to be very exciting. But to recount my selection for the 7th from Keeneland, it is the Grade 1, $2 million Breeders' Cup Filly Mare turf. As a top selection, we're going to take the 3 horse Peaceful. We'll also give kudos to the 7 horse Terabellum and the 10 horse Civil Union and the number 2 horse Sister Charlie here. We'll go 3-7-10-2 in the superfecta, and we'll use the 3-7-10-2 in the multi-race. Let's get to race number 8 now from Keeneland. The 8th race from Keeneland, it is the Breeders' Cup Sprint. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $2 million, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 15 horses entered, but keep in mind the 14 horse Vekoma was withdrawn or scratched because of a slight fever. Had a fever because he saw he got the post 14. So the 15 lasting legacy draws in. So we'll still have a field of 14 heading to the main track. The distance of ground of 1,200 meters, or the distance of ground is 6 furlongs here on the Keeneland main track. 1,200 meters, 6 furlongs in the sprint. And I love a horse here, and I love the 10 horse, who is Yopon. We'll go 10-6-8-7 in the superfecta, 10-6-8-7 super top selection. And my single for the day will be the 10 horse Yopon, 3-year-old colt by Uncle Mo. Steve Aspson trains. Joel Rosario gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 1st of October at Pimlico, 6 furlongs in the Grade 3 Chick Lang Stakes, and the horse won by 4 lengths. On paper, he was much the best. He didn't break that well, but after that, it was all over. He got the lead, and he just kept going. 60 cents to the dollar written out. That was a very impressive victory. He's been getting better with every single race. Back to facing older horses again for the first time in quite a while. Grade 1 horses shouldn't be a problem. I think he has the speed to win here. 2 back in the Amsterdam at Saratoga on a muddy seal going, 6 furlongs, 29th of August. The horse won by 2, and again, on the front and all throughout, he just put on a show there, winning very, very easily. And then before that, on the 18th of July at Saratoga, 6 furlongs, lounge race, 74,000, winning by 3 3/4 lengths. Again, everything was to his own way, and he just kept going. 101 buyer, geared down late. That was very impressive. And then his debut at Churchill. 6 furlongs in main special weight, 81,000, 20th of June. He won by a nose that day, and he was, he had a lot of first-time starter antics. He never really concentrated on the run. He kind of was a little bumpy, but he still got the job done, winning by a nose. He's been training incredibly well. He has speed to win here, and at 7-2, the late pick 5 begins with this race. We're going to single him off to start off the multis and end off some of the early multi-race wagers. But to recap my selection now for the 8th from Keeneland, it is the Grade 1 $2 million Breeders' Cup Sprint. As a top selection, we'll take the 10-horse Yopon. We'll go 10, 6, 8, 7 in the superfecta, single 10 in the multi-race. Let's get to the mile, race number 9 from Keeneland. Race number 9 from Keeneland should be one of the most exciting finishes of the weekend. The 9th race, it is the Breeders' Cup Mile, Grade 1, purse $2 million, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 15 horses entered. I believe the 9-horse One Master was withdrawn, so the 15-horse Order of Australia moves in. So we'll be going to a field of 14 horses to the turf course, a distance of ground of 1,600 meters, with a distance of ground of 1 mile here in the Breeders' Cup Mile. 1,600, 1 mile. Portable rail again is at 0 feet. My top selection, I love the 2-horse Kamiko here. I'm gonna go 2, 8, 10, 5 in the superfecta, 2, 8, 10, 5 super. Top selection 2-horse Kamiko, 3-year-old colt by Kitten's Joy. Andrew Balding trains. Ocean Murphy looking for his first Breeders' Cup victory, gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came in the Group 2 Joel Stakes at Newmarket, 1 mile, good ground, 25th of September, and the horse won by a half length there. And he was stepping down in trip and stepping down class from his previous race, but I think that was a good confidence builder, winning by a half length. He stalked, he got the lead, and then he kept going. He had a lot left in the tank there. Coming here, where he's been training very well over the train track at Keeneland, I think he's very loaded. 2 back in the Jedmont International at York, a mile 5/16, 19th of August. He finished 4th by 5 lengths. He didn't break that well. Also, the trip was a little bit too long there, and he was just a little bit too far back. It just wasn't a recipe for success there. And then prior to that, in the Group 1 Sussex at Goodwood, 1 mile, July the 29th, he finished 4th by 3 1/4 lengths there. And again, he just never really had a good, clear trip. He had a little traffic, and, it just wasn't his day to win. And then before then, the Derby at Epsom, 1.5 miles, July the 4th, finished 4th by 6 lengths. The winner, Serpentine, had everything his own way on the front end, easy fractions. This horse just really couldn't make up ground there. He didn't run half bad, but he just couldn't get a good trip there. But before that, in the 2,000 guineas at Newmarket, 1 mile in very fast ground on the 6th of June, the horse won by a neck, and he did dream trip. He stalked, he got the lead, and then he held on to a very, very nice victory. And then before that, he won the Futurity Trophy at Newcastle last in November the 1st, winning by 3 1/4 lengths. He had, again, a very good clear trip. He loves the mile trip. He's run well here today. He's going around 2 turns for the first time. Shouldn't be a problem. At 6-1, I think he's a very good horse to win here. I also think you have to give a shot to the 8-horse March to the Arch. 5-year-old Gelding by Archer. Mark Cassidy trains. Tyler Gaffleone gets the mount. Most recent outing in the Woodbine Mile at Woodbine, 1 mile, September the 19th. The horse finished 2nd by a length and closed up from nowhere. Had a lot of traffic. Didn't break that well. For all said and done, for this horse to get a place that day wasn't bad at all. Earning a 101 buyer. He's been getting better with his most recent races. Before then, the King Edward at Woodbine, 1 mile, August 15th. Kind of a local prep race for that Woodbine Mile. He won by 2 1/4 lengths. And again, he sat back early, closed up from nowhere, and went away with it. That was a very impressive victory. And then before then, the Wise Dan at Churchill, mile 16th, June the 20th. He finished 6th by 2 1/4 lengths there, and he was very wide that day, and he just never had a good clear trip. But coming here, where I'll see a good pace, buyer numbers have been very good, training very well. At 15-1, I think he can blow up this race, along with the 10-horse here, Halliday, at 12-1. The 4-year-old colt by Warfront. He's been doing everything right, but those are against a little lesser quality horses. But I do think he has the speed to win here. His 4-star Dave was very impressive, winning by 1 1/4 lengths on the front and all throughout. Before then, the Bernard Baruch at Saratoga, he just really couldn't keep up late off the bench. Maybe he needs the race. I saw somewhere Top Fletcher saying he's the kind of horse that runs a lot better when he's always running. He doesn't run well off the break, but he's been training very well at Belmont on the dirt and turf. He's run these good triple digit buyers this season. At 12-1, I think he's your wise guy horse here also. And Digital Age had him last time out at Churchill, where he won at 8.5-1 in the Turf Classic. He's gonna have to go to a good trip here. At 8-1, he can win. If you have the extra payroll, use him on your on your multi-race wagers, but I think the first three are definitely just to use on your late pick four, which begins with this race. But to recap my selections now for the ninth from Keeneland, it is the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Miles. The top selection will use the 2-horse Kamiko. We'll also give kudos to the 8-horse March to the Arch and the 10-horse Halliday. We'll go 2-8-10-5 in the superfecta, 2-8-10 in the multi-race and the place pots. To the 10th race now from Keeneland. Race number 10, it is the Breeders Cup Distaff. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $2 million. Race for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 10 horses heading to the main track. The distance of ground of 1,800 meters, or the distance of ground of a mile and 1/8 on the Keeneland main track. 1,800 meters, a mile 1/8, and the Breeders' Cup Distaff. My top selection here, we're going to go take the number 10 horse, Monomoy Girl. We'll go 10-5-3-2 in the superfecta, 10-5-3-2 super. Top selection 10 horse, a Monomoy Girl, 5-year-old mare by Tapizar. Brad Cox trains. Florent Giroux gets the mount. Most recent outing came the 4th of September at Churchill, mile 16th in the Grade 1 La Triomphe, and the horse won by 1 3/4 lengths. And she basically had everything her own way. She stalked a little bit wide, but when she got the turn of foot, she just kept going. Very easy victory. Stepping up in class. But coming back to Keeneland, where this horse is running very well in the past and training well, I'm going to give her a massive shot, along with everybody else in the face of the earth. 2 back in the Grade 2 Ruffian here in New York at Belmont, 1 mile, July the 11th. She won by 2 lengths that day, and she was 15 cents to the dollar, but Vextitious ran a very good race behind her and challenged her, but she blew Vextitious away and still won that nicely. Keep in mind, Vextitious turned the tables next start out on Midnight Bisou at Saratoga in the personal ensign or something like that, and won very impressively. But this horse, 104 buyer, best for her life there at the 1-turn mile, and then prior to that, first off the bench, first start in nearly a year and a half at Churchill. Slap of seal going, 1 mile and optional 80. The horse won by 2 3/4 lengths. She stalked, she got the lead, and she was ridden out. First off the bench, back to the races, year and a half, an all-around good race. And prior to that was the Breeders' Cup Distaff of 2018 at Churchill, mile late November the 3rd. The horse won by a length, was drawn stupidly wide. She got over well, and she just kept going, beating a good group of horses home. Nothing bad there. She's done everything right. She won the Oaks in 2018. She won the Acorn in 2018. She won the Ashland over this track very impressively in 2018. Training well, 8-5, a very likely winner, along with the 5-horse Swiss Skydiver, who's, is going to be the next Monomoy Girl. She won the Preakness against the boys very impressively a few weeks ago at Pimlico. Her place in the Oaks, she just couldn't keep up there. But before that, won the Alabama, placed in the Bluegrass on this track. She's done everything right this season at 2-1. She's also a very likely winner. We'll definitely use her on the multis. But to recap my selection now for the 10th from Keeneland, it is the Grade 1 $2 million Breeders' Cup Distaff. We're going to take the 10-horse Monomoy Girl. We'll give kudos to the 5-horse Swiss Skydiver. We'll go 10-5-3-2 in the superfecta, 10-5 in the multi-race. Let's get to the turf, race number 11 from Keeneland. Race number 11 from Keeneland. It is the Breeders' Cup Turf. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $4 million, races for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 10 horses going to the turf course, the distance of ground of 2,400 meters, or the distance of ground of 1.5 miles on the Keeneland turf course. 2,400 meters, 1.5 miles. My top selection here, we're going to go with the number 3 horse. The number 3 horse, who is Tarna Wa. We'll go 3-10-6-7 in the superfecta, 3-10-6-7 super. Top selection 3 horse Tarna Wa, 4-year-old filly here by Charmadal, whose offspring have been winning everything, it seems, the last few seasons in France and in England. We sadly lost him earlier this year, but his offspring have been very good, and he was a good horse for Godolphin. I believe I remember his worst race, though. That's when I think of Charmadal, I always think about his UAE Derby in 2005 at Nadal Sheba, where he ran absolutely crap, but that's for another day. But he went on to win the French Derby at Chantilly that season. But back to this horse, Dermot Weld trains this one. Christophe Soumillon was supposed to get the mount, because he's retained rider for the Aga Khan, but with him coming down with COVID, I believe now Colin Keane will be getting the mount, but I'm not quite positive on that, so don't take me to the bank with that one, but I am positive that this horse has a lot of chance to filly taking on the boys. Most recently ran the Prix de l'Opera at Longchamp Monocourt on very waterlogged turf course, 4th of October. The horse went by a neck and absolutely hated the ground, but came from the back that day, got the job done, come back here to fast ground to 1.5 miles, which is horse's better trip on fast ground. I think this horse just really goes up a lot. 2 back in the Group 1 Prix Vermeil at Longchamp, 1.5 miles, September 13th. The horse went by 3 lengths that day and put on a show, sat back early, slowly moved her way out a little bit wide, but didn't matter because this horse just ran a terrific race there at Longchamp, and before that, the 8th of August at Cork, a mile and a half, and the Group 3 Gives Thanks Stakes. The horse went by 1 3/4 lengths and was carrying a ginormous weight on her back of 137 pounds, but she sat back early, quickened up, and she got the job done with all said and done. And then before that, on soft ground at Ascot in late October 2018, mile 7/16 in the British Champion Stakes, Filly Mare Stakes, finished 9th by 8 lengths there, and she just never really got into the race. The soft ground got to her, but before that, won the Blandford Stakes at the Curragh last season very nicely, and then won the Give Thanks at Cork last season very nicely also. She goes up a lot with the fast ground, mile and a half trip, 6-1 coming to this race very well. She's a very likely winner, along with the 10-horse Mogul. I don't like Magical in this spot. I think she's a very vulnerable favorite. I do think her better trip is at 1.25 miles, but Mogul, complete opposite. I think he's the up-and-coming horse here. 1.5 miles he should love. Also, the very firm ground he should love. Pierre Charles Bedot, the Frenchman, gets the mount for O'Brien and the Coolmore Group. Most recently in the Grand Prix de Paris at Longchamp, 1.5 miles in September, not on Bastille Day this year, but in September, the horse won by 2.5 lengths, and he was much the best. At 8.5 to 1, he stalked, he got the lead, and then he put on a show, winning very easily. Before then, the Great Voltaire at York, 1.5 miles, 19th of August, he finished third by 4 lengths. He just kind of was a little lackadaisical that day. He just never got going. He didn't run bad, but he needed that extra turn of foot there. And then before then, the Gordon Stakes at Goodwood, 1.5 miles. He won by 3/4 length and at 4.5 to 1. He finally, they had a lot of hype with this horse before the Derby. He didn't run well in the Derby, and he was a little lackadaisical at Ascot and then the Derby, but he came back to his own form, winning by 3/4 length, kept going, an all-around good race. Before then, the Derby, he was the kind of horse that I think with the slow pace early on, and the horse basically having everything his own way on the front end, he's the kind of horse that kind of got no run because of that. He finished 6 by 7 lengths, never really got through. And then before that, the King Edward, first off the bench, he needed the race, finished 4th by 4 3/4 lengths, and he just, he needed the race there, especially on the soft ground. He loves the fast ground. He's going to see it today. 1.5 mile trip, 4 to 1. He's a very likely winner. And I also think the 6-horse Lord North for Godolphin and John Gosden, Frankie Dettori. Godolphin and Dettori, they kind of lost their partnership about 10 or so years ago now. But it would be kind of cool for them to win this race again. Frankie and Godolphin did win this race in 1999 with, I can't think of the horse now, but they won it in the past, finally in 99 at Gulfstream, and then they won it in 2001 with Fantastic Light. But, this horse, he wants the fast ground, which he's going to get today. He absolutely hated the ground the Champion Stakes to Ascot a few weeks ago. And in the Juddmonte International, he finished third by 4.5 lengths, even though he did lose a shoe that day. I thought he ran decently closing up, and then he won the Prince of Wales very nicely. 1.5 mile trip for the first time shouldn't be a problem. The fast ground, he goes up a lot. 8 to 1. They use him on the multis. I think the Euros are the best horses in this race. They run the best numbers and the speed figures out of anybody here. And, if there's going to be an American horse that could get a piece of it, 7-Horse United. He's been doing everything right, but he's going to have to run his best race lifetime to win here. If you want to use him on the multis, you can. I'm personally not. But I think he's a horse you definitely could use on the bottoms of your superfectas and trifecta tickets. But to recap my selection for the 11th from Keeneland, it is the Grade 1 $4 million Breeders' Cup Turf. As a top selection here, we're going to take the 3-horse Tarnois. We'll also give kudos to the 10-horse Mogul and the 6-horse Lord North. We'll go 3, 10, 6, 7 in the superfecta, 3, 10, 6 in the multi-race. Let's get to the nightcap, race number 12 from Keeneland, the big one. Race number 12 from Keeneland. It is the Breeders' Cup Classic. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $6 million. Races for 3-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 10 horses entered to go the distance of ground here of 2,000 meters, or the distance of ground of 1 mile and 1/4 on the Keeneland main track. 2,000 meters, 1 mile and 1/4. And this is a very exciting classic. I think you have a great group of horses running here, and I think it will be one of the classics we'll go back to in a few years' time saying, wow, that was a good race. With that being said, as a top selection, I'm going to go with the 4-horse Tom's Detente. We'll go 4, 2, 10, 1 in the superfecta. 4, 2, 10, 1 super. Top selection of 4-horse Tom's Detente. 7-year-old horse by Smart Strike. Al Stall Jr. trains. Joel Rosario gets the mount. Horse is coming first off the bench, and he does run very well off the break. Most recently, though, at Saratoga, who ran quite crap, 1 mile and 1/8 in the Grade 1 Whitney. He lost all chances at the beginning. From a wide poster, he didn't break that well, and he was behind the A-ball all throughout. He finished third by 2.5 lengths, and he just never really had a good run. Coming back here off the bench where he runs very well, back to Keeneland where he's run very well in the past. I think he really gets something going. Two back in the Stephen Foster handicap at Churchill, mile and 8, June the 27th. He won by 4.5 lengths, and he stalked, he got the lead, and then he just kept going. An all-around great effort there. And then before then, the Oaklawn Mile at Oaklawn Park, wet, fast, but still going. 1 mile, April 11th. He won by 3/4 length. He sat back early, was stupidly wide, but he circled the field, beating Improbable, who's your favorite here today. That was a very impressive race. Probably his worst race of life. One of his worst races with the buyer number is a 101 buyer out of all those buyers recently. It was the worst, but he still got the job done. Can't speak, pardon me, just talked for the last hour. But, he still ran terrific there. And then last year's Clark handicap at Churchill, mile late November the 29th, he won by 3 1/4 lengths. Again, he sat back early, and when he got the lead, he just kept going, barely got the whip. A 105 buyer, very impressively there. And then before then, the fight here, Keeneland on the slop, mile 8th last October, he won by 4 1/2 lengths. And again, he stalked, and he just kept going. An all-around good effort. Just look at his buyers most recently. With the third place finish in the Whitney, a 102 buyer, 109 in the Foster, a 101 in the Oaklawn Mile, a 105 in the Clark, a 106 in the Fayette, and then before then, the Woodward last season at Saratoga, a 104. It's a few of his worst races have come at Saratoga, so maybe he just does not like the track. But come back to Keeneland, where he's run very well in the past, he's training well. I think the old man could get the job done. If he wins today, he'll be the oldest classic winner. So we'll use him here. And I think you have to use the 2-horse Tisdalaw. He's been going under the radar, it seems, the last few weeks since the Derby. But he could definitely win here. The 3-year-old colt by Constitution, Barkley Tag trains, Manny Franco gets the mount. Most recently in the Derby at a 1.25 at Churchill. Another horse, maybe just not like Tom's a Tom. Maybe he just doesn't like Saratoga. Maybe Tisdalaw just doesn't like Churchill. His 2 losses have come there. In the Derby, he finished second by 1/4 lengths. He stalked, but he just couldn't catch Authentic, who just kept going on the front end. But he ran his heart out there. Before that, he ran the race of his life, though, at Saratoga, Monocore in the Travers, winning by 5.5 lengths. He had a dream trip. He stalked, he got the lead, and then he just kept going. A great effort. And then before then, the Belmont, a mile 8th at Belmont, he won by 3 3/4 lengths. Again, he stalked a little bit wide, but he just kept going. He jumped away to win the Florida Derby, won the Holy Bull, and then in last year's Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill, on the rail on the slop, he just finished third by 3/4 length, and he just never really got anywhere. He was very lackadaisical. He looked the same way in the Derby. Just, I don't know if he just wasn't handling the track. But something I love, they took the horse to Keeneland a few weeks earlier to get accustomed to the track, and he's been training very well here. And at 3-1, hopefully they bet the Baffert horses. If I get 7-2 on him at a post time, or even 4-1, I'll be over the moon. He's a very live chance here. Of the Baffert runners, I think the 10-horse Maximum Security could get a piece of it. I haven't been his best fan, I have to say, but he lost him again last week, a few weeks ago at Santa Anita, where he just couldn't catch Improbable, who basically ran, I thought, the race of his life there. But before that, he won the Pacific Classic very nicely, and then he won San Diego Handicap very nicely. His races for Baffert haven't been half bad. He's been training well. At 7-2, he can win on ability, but to recap my selections now, for the and also before we get to my selections, Taxidis, he's a horse that just does not win, but he's gonna win one of these days. He's the kind of horse, if they would run him in the Clark handicap in a few weeks, he's probably gonna win there. But if you want to use him on the multis, you can. If I have the extra payroll, I would. He had a decent third in the in the Jockey Club. He just couldn't keep up late, and he was very lackadaisical in that Woodward. He should have won there, but he won the Suburban very nicely. But then he'll run these clunkers like the Oaklawn handicap and then the Saudi Cup. He's very lackadaisical. He wins when he wants. He's been training well. 20-1. Definitely use him on your multi races if you have the extra payroll, and you could do a small little each way win place on him. But let's see if he wants to win today. But to recap my selection for the 12th from Keeneland, it is the Grade 1 $6 million Breeders' Cup Classic. As a top selection, we'll give the 4-horse Tom's Detente co-top selection along with the 2-horse Tisdalaw. We'll go 4-2-10-1 in the superfecta, and like I said, we're definitely going to use 4-2-10 in the multi-race. If you have the extra payroll, use the 1-horse Taxidis also, but that was 4-2-10-1 super. So good luck to all. Remember to please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5, and good luck, everybody.